In this lecture, we will cover basic file and directory permissions. So let's get started. R is the read permission, W is the write permission, X is the execute permission. Now these are the three permissions that can be assigned to a file and a directory. Who do you assign these permissions to? You can assign this permission to a user, who's the owner of the file. You can assign these to a group, the group that owns that file or the directory. You can assign to others. Other than the user and group members is others. So when you assign read permissions to a file, that person will be able to read that file. When you assign a write permission, you can modify that file. When you assign an execute permission, that person can execute that file, or if it's a script, they'll be able to run that script. Now, another user that we have is A. Actually, another set of people that you can assign to is A, and that stands for all. So everyone is included in all. If you give all or A permissions to something, it will be assigned to everyone. Let's cover a real-life example. I did a ls-l on a particular directory, and I got this result. So if you see right here, the file is called TPS report, the user is Ali, and the group is sales. And the permissions, the first column is the permissions. So let's dig deep into the permissions. RWX is the permissions that are assigned to the user Ali. That means this user has read, write, and execute permissions. If you see the sales only have read and write permissions. Now, there's no column for others, but the one in yellow is R. That means read permissions have been given to others. And the dashes represent no permissions have been assigned. So that's how the permissions are assigned: read, write, and execute, and they get assigned to user, the group, others, or all. Now there's a difference between file and directory permissions. Here's an example of an output from a ls-l, and the monthly is the directory. And also, if you see a D before the permissions, that means it's a directory. So there's a difference when you assign permissions to a file and a directory. If you assign read permissions to a file, you'll be able to read the file contents. But if you assign read permission to a directory, it allows file names in the directory to be read. You'll be able to read the file names in the directory. When you assign write permissions to a file, it allows a file to be modified. If you assign it to a directory, it allows entries to be modified within that directory. Entries meaning files, directories, or whatever is in that directory. Execute, when you assign an execute write to a file, it allows the execution of a file, or if it's a script, you'll be able to run it. But if you assign execute to a directory, it allows access to contents and metadata for entries. That means you will be able to see the group and user information and the modification date and time information. Just like when you do ls-l, it shows you the detailed information. That's what giving execute permission to a directory does. I hope you learned something useful in this lecture, and I'll see you in the next one.